That would be great. Hi, oh wait, I get to do this. Hi there, this is Rebecca Nash. It's 7:01 and I'm calling the meeting to order. Ellen, for the roll, Cheryl and Brian are both excused from the meeting tonight.
Okay.
And everyone is here. We also have Naomi Rodriguez and Mary McGrattan is here as well.
Thank you.
Are there any citizen comments? Okay, hearing none, I'm gonna go on to the approval of the minutes from our meeting on January 24th. If I could get a motion for approval.
So moved.
Thanks, that was John moved the motion. A second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Ralph. Ralph seconded it. Any discussion about it?
This is Beth. I think that the top line, I think you did the moment of silence for Linda Davis the month before.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I didn't notice that on here. Yeah, if that could get taken off.
Yep.
And then the other thing I noticed was on the slate of officers, it said president and vice president, and it's supposed to be chair and vice chair. And if we could get that corrected, that would be great.
My motion was as corrected.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, John, for keeping me on track with that. You know, the order of these things, you know. Okay, so are there any other corrections or comments on the minutes? Okay, so all in favor of the minutes as amended, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed or abstain? And I'm gonna abstain because I wasn't at them. I know I don't have to, but it's my preference. And that was, all right, so the minutes passed with only one abstention. All right, correspondence, Gail, anything?
So I included a copy of my letter to the mayor, just so you all have the official notice with the official date, which is flexible. Obviously, I don't want to leave without someone in place. And the other piece of mail is a memo from town council reconfirming the budget hearings. I did not include a copy of that, but we are scheduled to meet with finance on March 17th at 3 o'clock and 2 o'clock. And as you know, we only have 15 minutes to present the budget and answer questions. So it's March 17th at 2 o'clock.
From past experience, if you want to attend via Zoom, get there at 1:45. Because last year I went on time and Gail was all done. Because they take people in as soon as the last department is left.
Yeah, they keep
Okay,
things
and-
moving.
Say that again?
They keep things moving.
Yeah. Do you need to know, or would you prefer to know who's planning to be there? I know I may have a conflict with that time, but do you want someone there at the meeting, or do you need to know in advance, or what's your preference?
Well, I think I would say exactly what I said to the mayor, that if you want to email something to Finance Bill Psalms, I think that's a good way to do it.
Okay,
Just an email in support of the budget. Anything specific that you want to highlight. And we've been trying to get the part-time wages increased ever since the budget cuts. So That would be a good thing to highlight.
And increase the hours.
The hours, yes. And the salaries.
Yeah. All right, thank you. And thank you also for your letter of resignation, even though it makes me sad seeing it in writing. But I really do want to say I thank you so much for the flexibility that you're, offering and to make it a smoother transition. That's really appreciated. So. All right, treasurer's report, Carol.
No.
Ralph. Ralph.
Carol.
Oh, Ralph, oh my goodness,
No,
yay. Thank
no,
you, and
I'm
my
Carol.
apologies.
No, I'm Carol's surrogate, so you can call me Carol.
No, you're my replacement.
That was just force of habit. My apologies, Ralph.
Oh,
Thank
don't
you.
worry about it. Don't worry about it. This first sheet is a look at our year-to-date actual versus the budget. And you know that our receipts from a budgeted standpoint are our best guess. If we move down to the investment line, Gale Ferry books, you see that the amount there is $18,680, which is consistent with our policy. So that has not been drawn down at all. And then we go down to expenditures, and the expenditures really give us an indication that we're still within budget. And our balance on hand is $32,786.95. If we take out the investment Gale Ferry books, our balance is $14,106.95. If we go to the next report, the Treasury report for January, our beginning balance was $32,853.97. Our total receipts would have brought that up to $33,150.77. We had expenditures for the month, and that line will be added next month, but that amount was $363.82, giving us an ending balance of $32,786.95. So that line that says total expenditures the total expenditures will be there, but we would have the $300 amount there, and then we'd add another line so that it would be clear what our ending balance is for the month. Any questions?
Excellent.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks. So no questions?
No, thank you.
Well,
Right.
thank you very, very much.
All right, then.
All right, Gail, director's report.
Okay. The library now has 2 hotspots that will make available for patrons to borrow. These are portable devices that provide internet service on the go, for lack of a better term. And they were funded through the ARPA grant, and I've included a policy regarding their use that I have on the agenda for later on. There's been a lot in the news recently about challenged materials in libraries, and it has been spreading to Connecticut. CLA recently approved an intellectual freedom statement against censorship, which I am including in your packet. Our library has a selection policy as well as a form for patrons to fill out if they object to an item in the collection. I don't want to speak too soon, but we've not had too many requests to pull a title. Our selection policy was approved in 2007 and does need to be updated to cover things like equity, diversity, and inclusion. Our policies support the American Library Association Bill of Rights and freedom to read statements. And I recommend the Library Commission also pass a resolution to support the Connecticut Library Association statement, which I also included in the package. On the other side of that, it's been discovered that some of the digital platforms, such as Hoopla and Overdrive, contain propaganda and Holocaust denial materials in their collections. And let me tell you, since I wrote this report, the information coming out on the listservs is unbelievable on both sides of this issue. In general, librarians feel that they have a responsibility to provide accurate information and not to spread false or misinformation materials that we've been seeing in some of the propaganda. But then you have people on the other side saying, well, are we censoring materials? So there's quite a debate going on about this whole issue. I think, personally, I think the outcome of this is that librarians have an ethical responsibility to provide correct information, and they have a right to choose what they feel is accurate and pertinent for their collections. I will say that Hoopla and Overdrive both responded very quickly to the whole business of the propaganda materials, and both of them have removed them from their collection. And I believe I sent you a letter from the CEO of Hoopla discussing what they are going to do going forward to vet selections for their collections. In line with all of this, Lion recently approved a policy regarding equity, diversity, and inclusion initiatives in terms of the digital materials. And they also passed a policy and procedure for challenged materials within the digital collections that they provide. On the fiber grant, the bidding process for fiber installation was just completed, and I'm now able to proceed with the grant application through the Universal Service Fund. The mayor has been out since Friday, but he is supposed to be getting the electronic copy of the agreement form that he will need to sign in order for us to proceed with the application. And I am meeting with the state representatives tomorrow to try and go through the whole application, making sure that we get everything in there that we want for the Ferry Library. And the deadline for applying for that grant is March 22nd. I think you all may have known that Bill Library was closed for a week in early February due to having no heat. Unfortunately, it was the coldest week of winter, and except for the meeting room, temperatures inside the building were in the 50s. It turned out to be the motor on the boiler. A new motor was installed, and we had heat back for 2 days when it went out again. The second time, it was the propane regulator that froze, preventing fuel from getting to the boiler. That was repaired, and we now have heat. Bill Library will be getting a new roof in the spring. The referendum was held last week for residents to vote on funding to replace the roof on 2 schools, Town Hall Annex, and Bill Library. Some of the buildings have solar panels that will be removed, and whether they replace the panels is still undecided. And that's my report.
Thanks, Gail. Any questions for Gail?
I'm good.
I have one. I'm embarrassed to say I don't know the answer, but do we know what the result of the referendum was?
I believe it passed.
Oh, it passed. Only
It was a
200
vote.
people voted. And it
I
was like
think it was
100.
192 to 12.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I somehow missed that one, so I'm really glad it passed, so. Thank you to the 200 people who came out. So, any other questions for Gail on the report? Okay,
I'm putting up
Um,
the intellectual freedom statement. I'm guessing you all had a chance to read that. And if you have any questions.
I have a question, Gail. Were you thinking of using some of this same language for our library collections?
For our policy, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
yeah, and I guess I had a related question, and you answered it in your report, but it was sort of with the hoopla and the, the Holocaust denier propaganda that was there. Like you talked about like librarians' ethical obligation for truth. Does this seems really broad, which is great, but how would this statement address that? Am I missing something when I read it? And if I am, please tell me.
Well, I didn't send all of the things to you that I've been getting. There's a couple of things. There's a New York Times article, opinion piece, that came out basically on the side of you need to provide everything. But then there was another article with a ethics policy that I think ALA put together, which talks about the responsibility of providing accurate information. And obviously the Holocaust denier information, just like the people who say Sandy Hook never happened, that is not accurate information. And we have the ethical responsibility, and that could be part of the policy. Is to include that
Well, I think
statement.
that's sort of what I'm getting at, and Beth may have been too, is if we're using a statement like this as part of our policy, let's make sure that information is defined as accurate information and, truthful information and things like that. I think that would be
Yes,
important.
those
Okay.
are definitely terms that I'm seeing used.
Okay, yeah, because I'm just looking at this one where it's just unrestricted access to information. And, I mean, maybe it's under the home, but anyway, so I just wanted to make sure about that. So thank you.
Yes, so this one here is really getting at the whole censorship issue. But the propaganda Holocaust is the opposite. It's
Right.
non-truth, non-accurate.
And I think that's my concern, that if we have this very, very broad policy, then we accidentally are saying it's okay to have propaganda. And I just think we need to be careful about the wording of that.
Yes, so I think it's, using terms like accurate and truthful, telling the truth, basically.
My question is, if we're going to use those terms of accurate and truthful, then there's already materials in our collection that don't fit accuracy or truth.
Yeah.
So what do? Are you prepared to call out those materials from the collection? And I know it's rhetorical. It's a rhetorical question, but I think it's something that needs to be considered.
So in terms of inaccurate, are you talking about things that go out of date? Because that is
No.
No,
I mean,
okay.
just take anything. Take your history books that talk about or characterize Native Americans a certain way, or they don't say that there hasn't been a treaty that America has made with Native Americans that they've kept. And they take another position. I think there's plenty of things in the library that are not truthful.
Yeah.
We have accepted them as okay, but now that if you're going to draw that line in the sand, how strenuous are we going to be in looking in our own collection?
The line here that there is no good censorship is kind of in contradiction to the fact that we're talking about, I mean, the word is censorship, censoring things that are not accurate and or beneficial, or wherever we want to draw that line, you do need to word it. On the other hand, you can't buy everything for a library. So part of collection development is just that, well, then you choose the good things. And so you don't have to choose the ones that aren't appropriate, but you can't say that you're not going to censor and then choose to not have those materials, which I perfectly agree with getting rid of, but we need to find a carefully worded
I understand the idea of looking at things historically. And that's a huge collection development retention. It would be a huge project in the size of this. But the one good thing is that there will be something, if somebody finds something that they find objectionable, or they can call it out and say, this is not true. Then there could be a way to review it. Trying to review a full collection would be very difficult, as you can imagine. But if someone has an idea of maybe has a great community project, maybe somebody wants to go and look at a certain section of the library and go, okay, let me look at this stuff and see if it's relevant or accurate. Or do you consider putting things like that in a specific historical collection and say these are historical documents that at the time they were done were accepted?
And you mentioned the word relevance, and that's a key term as well, being relevant to your community and what you have in the library. I did, when the whole thing about Hoopla came out, I contacted Sam Lee, who is the Intellectual Freedom Chairman for CLA. And because she had just come out with something on censorship, I said, where do you draw the line when you're talking about banning books versus now we find out we have these inaccurate things in the collection that we want removed? When does it become censorship? And her response was, in a case like that, she tends to fall on the side of protecting the minority group, if you will. So her thinking would be this inaccurate propaganda material she might choose not to have in her collection or to remove from her collection. But she was not necessarily thinking of that as censorship, but thinking of it as a due diligence for accurate information.
Do you have, what is your timing for reviewing the existing policy?
I don't really have a time. The past couple of weeks I've been really busy with end of the month stuff, and now my priority right now is to get that grant application done.
Yeah.
I want to get that done, and once I get that off my plate, then I can look at the policy.
Okay, yeah, and I totally understand the timing. Maybe it's something just where when we review it, or if you have suggestions to add to it, maybe we can sort of have, if there are recommendations from the Library Association or from other libraries, or just sort of some additional information that we could go on, in looking at that policy when we do look at it.
We tend to all share in libraries. So
Yeah.
we all look at each other's policies and kind of borrow from each other. And that's probably what I will do.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. And thank you for keeping us aware and for following it.
Well, definitely a big issue right now.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Rebecca, can I say something?
Yeah, absolutely, please.
I think when we create the policy, we're going to be creating a procedure, correct, Gail? Yeah,
The procedure is not in the policy. The procedure is something separate.
okay, well, we'll still be creating a procedure. So I don't think you would have to go through our collection to see what's in there that's
Right.
inaccurate. We only need to respond to complaints from patrons and the public about what we have in our collection. Is that correct?
And we do have a procedure in place now, in that we do have a form for
Right,
people to fill out. I look at it first. I make a decision. If they don't like that, it comes to the commission to look at, and they make a decision. And I believe the commission decision is final.
right.
Um,
Where is that on the commission members
It's
page?
in the policy manual.
Okay, I
um,
see. Okay,
You may not have the procedure. I'm trying to think. Yes, that may be in the beginning of the policy manual,
library procedures. Okay,
because the procedure would be more for staff
right.
in terms of what to do.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or? Okay, actually, then I think we're moving on to committee reports with friends.
I have no report. All I can say is we had the buy one, get one free sale at Bill and at Gales Ferry. I don't have any idea what was raised, but I know a lot of books disappeared from the Gales Ferry Library, so I imagine we did pretty well, but I don't have a number.
That's awesome, thank you. All right, investment committee, or any questions for John? Okay, then investment committee, please.
So Cheryl's not here tonight. I don't know, Carol, John, do you want to give the report? Or do you want me
Okay.
to?
We're getting very close. We're creating an investment guideline policy for the commission to approve. We spent several meetings going through, it's like a 7-page document that was proposed by Sal, who's our investment advisor. We made many changes to that. We had a meeting with him last week. And we asked him a whole bunch of questions, and he responded by sending us back some changes to the investment guidelines. So we will be meeting next week, and probably at the next meeting, we'll be presenting the investment guidelines to the commission for your approval. It recommends how we should be handling the 4 different funds, which are there's the building fund, the William Fulton Fund, the Gales Ferry Commissions Fund, and the Gales Ferry, and the Commissions Fund for both libraries. So we have those 4 different funds that were, depending on what we're going to do with them, we'll be recommending the investment policy for each one. Carol, you can add to that if you want.
For more detail on it, I believe Gail included the minutes from that meeting last
Yeah.
week in tonight's agenda packet. So it is there so that people can look at it if they have any questions. And we meet again Wednesday, I think, right?
Wednesday.
Yeah, I've kind of glanced at some of the stuff you put together, and I will say it's so impressive how much has been done, and you've made it so clear and just really outlined it in a way that just is great. So thank you, everyone, for that. And Cheryl would be here tonight if she had a death in the family, so that's why she's not here unexpectedly. So, all right. So, any questions for members of the investment committee?
One of the things that I'd like to add, and we don't have to vote on it tonight, but I wanted to bring it up. Ralph mentioned the investment line in the special fund of 18,680. That's money that was given to Galesbury Library for books, and the commission decided to keep the principal and just spend the interest each year on books. That is in the town special fund, and it resides in Dime Bank. The issue is accounts in the bank are not earning much interest. When we first started out, we were getting $700, $800, $900 a year in interest, which was a nice amount to put towards books. Now we just barely make $50 a year, which buys 2 books. One of the things that I suggested was that we moved that 18,000 from the Dime Bank, and we have to get the town's okay to do this, and put it with the accounts that Jenny is holding. Put it specifically into the Gales Ferry account, and get we could get a dividend, an annual dividend based on the interest it earns each year to use for Gales Ferry books. And the way I envision that happening is once a year we would get a check, we would know basically what the amount was going to be, and that would get input into the special fund budget for Gales Ferry books. And the committee did approve that at their meeting. I don't know, do we want the library commission to approve that and to move forward with that idea?
I think we should wait and do the guidelines and that at the next meeting after we have the guidelines approved.
Okay, that's fine.
Any other questions? Okay, search committee. So basically a lot has happened since the last meeting. It was certainly a meeting I probably shouldn't, I was a little surprised when I got the call the next day. I'm sorry, I missed the meeting. Again, Beth, thank you for doing the minutes, but so yeah, so Gail called me, let me know. In the last month, I think I've sent everyone out an email, just sort of giving you a quick heads up of what's happening, but Carol, Beth, and Barbara have agreed to sort of step forward and help with a search committee. All 3 of them have backgrounds in libraries, and I'm extremely grateful to get their help. We have met with Don. So basically the search is going a little bit more unconventionally than most library searches go. Usually it's the commission who's really driving it, with the mayor and the first selectman, whichever it is, of the town, and the HR department sort of taking more of a back seat. They really want to drive this bus a little bit more than I was expecting, but we did have a really good meeting with Don, and I think it's going to be a more collaborative approach, where we are, we're going to meet tonight after this meeting, just Carol, Beth, Barbara, and I, basically Don had a set of standard questions that he normally asks. He gave those to us, and he's letting us figure out the additional questions. We will also have a participatory member on the search group and a second person being a library director for another town that can sort of, really guide us with very specific library director sort of take on it. The position is currently posted, timeline, the resume should be in on the 7th, reviewing the week of March 7th to 10th, and then bringing people in to interview, hopefully March 21st, with the week prior being figuring out who we're going to interview. I've also, with Don's blessing, have reached out to the staff at the different libraries and just asking for their input. What makes a great director? What do you need? I wanted participation. I wanted transparency. I wanted to be able to tell them what I was doing and for them to, offer some input. And I got some really helpful input, which was really great. So a lot of that is going to sort of inform some of the questions we asked and the answers that we're listening for. I think that's everything. Carol, Barbara, Beth, do you have anything you want to add, or does anyone have any questions?
No, just that we're working on developing the questions, and we'll be meeting tonight to work on that. And we, I believe, did get officially approved to participate in the interviews, which we thought was important.
Yeah, that was definitely one thing I really clarified. We all clarified that it was a fully active participatory part of the interview process versus just observational. So yeah, go ahead, Naomi.
So how many people from the Library Commission are going to be on the interview panel?
One.
Okay, because Parks and Rec, when I was on Parks and Rec, and we were hiring a director, an assistant director, we had 2. So you might want to push a little bit.
Oh, trust me, I did. But that's actually really helpful information because we didn't have that going into the meeting. So you, who else was there?
It was me, Ken DeRico, the mayor, and Dawn.
All right. And what was Ken's role? Like, were you and Ken both sort of more?
We were asking questions. They came up with a
commission sort of-
list. We were
Say it again?
both on. I'm sorry, what?
Sorry, we were cross paths. You were both on. Were you both on the Parks and Rec?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. So Don basically, he wants him, the mayor, and the director of finance. Do I have that title right, Gail? I think I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And he was worried about it being too big. He only wanted 4 people. So we did get him to, he really, really liked the idea of having a library director, an outside person. And after he had agreed to that, we did sort of say, okay, well, now we're up to 5. So if by chance we can't get a library director person, we will have someone else from the commission. That was about as backdoor as I could get it to be a little bit bigger.
Okay.
But I do think there is a benefit of having a library director on it. Again, if we can't find someone, it will be another commission member. But yeah, it's certainly it was a surprise.
Well, they were happy to do it without anybody from the commission, actually, it seems, but we did manage to get them to agree to someone. But I believe also that if we were not able to get a library director as an additional person, then we could have a second person from the commission. Is that not the way it was left?
Yes, absolutely. No, he really loved the director idea. And so then once I got the number expanded to 5, I made sure that there was clarity that if it was not a director, it would be another commission member and that 5 was okay. But he was not wanting it to be, initially did not want it to be larger than 4. So. Yeah, so I think we have our work cut out for him. I did really stress the fact that it is the commission that makes the recommendation. And if we're not a part of the process, we will not be informed enough to make a recommendation. So hopefully we'll, yeah. So far it's been okay, but you know, early on.
Rebecca, who did you say the meeting was? The search committee is Carol, Barbara, and you?
And Beth,
Okay, I missed that. Thanks. And when you talk about Don, like what is his role in the town for the minutes?
oh, sorry, yeah, it's Don Steinhoff. He's the head of HR. And
Okay, I did see that.
um,
I know he's on the resignation letter, but thanks.
Yeah, any other questions on this? All righty, well, let's go to some old business then.
So the fiber grant, I didn't know if I'd have any more to report on that, but I'm waiting on getting the mayor's signature on the agreement. And I hope to get most of the application completed tomorrow, if possible.
Okay, thank you. Any other old business? Okay, so new business, the hotspot policy.
Actually, can I back up one
Yeah,
minute
please,
on the old
absolutely.
business? I got an email today as I was leaving about ClearGov, the budget. So I went in and looked at our budget, and I could not tell if that was the mayor's okay to what we submitted, because all of my requests said approved. I tried to call the new finance director to find out from him, but he was not there, and I couldn't get Kristen. So I'm not sure exactly what that meant, if the mayor had actually looked at it and approved that request. But the additional salaries and the additional hours for library assistant were still in there. And maybe I'm being too optimistic. But I intend to follow up to find out what that means.
Okay, well, we're all gonna like keep our fingers crossed and knock on wood, and that would be great. All right, moving forward again, the hotspot borrowers agreement.
So I've
Is there-
put together a policy, and I'm asking that the commission, let's see, approve the new hotspot policy.
Could I get a motion for approval of the policy?
A motion.
Second,
Okay, so Ellen, that was Barbara moved and John seconded.
Yep.
So all in favor, go ahead, John.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Or rather a comment. The next to the last bullet says hotspots may be only borrowed by library card holders with accounts in good standing, current and free of fines. We don't do any fines anymore.
Well, lost,
Why don't we, isn't it lost book charges?
lost books, so that would be a fine for a lost book.
Okay. So I suppose we could reinstitute fines if we wanted to. By leaving fines in there.
Well, if
I
they have
didn't
a,
catch the last part of that.
I mean, the
There we
only
go.
thing we charge people is for lost books, right?
yes. So if they have a fine on their card for a lost book, would you like it to say, current and no outstanding balance? I don't know.
I just don't think of that as a fine. They're reimbursing us for a lost book. A fine is if what we used to have when books were late.
Right,
So that's why
so
we're focusing on the word fines.
what terminology would you suggest?
Free of lost book fees or whatever. That's the only thing we charge the public for. I mean, I suppose we charge them for other things too, like paper and copies
Right.
and stuff like that. I mean, just to, can leave it at fines, we don't need to change it, but I don't like the word fines. That's my hang up, I guess.
How it appears in the system? Is that like in the library system, that it's listed as fines?
It is, yes.
Oh, okay. It's a fine if you lose a book and we charge them for it.
Right, they have a
Okay.
balance on their account.
All right, leave it
I
alone.
could say, well, no balance due, but then that's not too clear either.
Right. Now leave it alone. I don't think of
Okay,
that as
any
a
other-
fine.
Right, any other questions or comments?
I have one. ID confirmed staff initials. That means that they are supposed to actually seen the ID and it's matching the card it's checked out on.
Yes,
Like-
yes,
And they're initialing to that effect. Okay.
yep,
They're going to be charged out in the system, right? They're like barcode.
correct.
Okay,
Correct,
okay.
it will go out for 2 weeks. And we sort of have a way of getting it back, if you will. We can turn off the service if they don't return it. So there's really no point in keeping it. Unless, of course, they lose it. In which case, they would have to pay the full replacement.
I have just one minor thing, and it doesn't really matter, but I'm just gonna throw it out there anyhow. Do you want to switch the order of signature and ID confirmed so that when someone's filling it out, it's like fill out these top 3 lines and then your staff fills out the bottom, 3 lines? I don't know if that would make it easier. Again,
Sure, we could do that. That's not a problem. So put,
just to make sure people sign it and
address and then signature, and then we could actually have a line that says staff only, and they would do the ID confirmed and the date and time checked out.
yeah. Just for user ease more than anything else. I mean, the policy itself. looks
I
good.
actually see, oh, well, I guess the staff initials would be on the returned, after it's returned.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what that one
Yeah.
is. I was confused. I thought it was, you put it, it's redundant, but it's not because
It's
that's
not, yeah,
the later part when it's returned. Maybe there should be sort of a line between, because that all looks like it's going to be part of the checkout stuff until you think about it. If you drew a line on between the date time,
have
So
it as a separate item.
information is separated from the checkout, I think it would be visually easier to understand what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's plenty of space in the form on the sheet to just add a line and drop things down. So if you put between the time checked out and time returned, if you just drew a line across, so it's a separate section, maybe.
Separate item, yeah.
I have a system question. Do you need the time checked in and checked out if it's going to be done within the barcoded system? I mean, I don't,
Well, I guess it's part of the agreement they signed. So
oh, okay, okay.
when they checked it out. it will be in the system, you're right. But this would be a separate tracking of it. And of course, we only have 2, so keeping track won't be that difficult. I was looking at, I think it was Danbury has 27 that they check out. So, and each one of those has a cost of $120 a year for their fee. So do the math. They have a nice book budget.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. John, did you have a question? Oh. No. All right, so any other questions, comments?
So
Okay, so,
I'm gonna move the ID confirmed under signature. And then I'm gonna put a line between checked out and checked in. Correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
okay, so, all in favor of the policy as amended?
I,
Anyone opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously. Thanks for putting that together and for getting this, Gail.
I had one more motion I wanted to ask about, and that is whether you'd like to pass a resolution in support of the Connecticut Library Association Intellectual Freedom Statement.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying that would be our policy, but this is just sort of an endorsement?
It's an endorsement of the CLA statement. Yep.
That in our packet?
Pardon?
Is that in our packet?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not at home. I don't have my printout, so I don't know.
Oh, okay, yes, it's this here.
It's this one.
Okay. Oh, that one that we were looking at. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we could get an endorsement.
What I'm seeing is some of the libraries have passed, had their board pass a resolution in support of the CLA statement. And I'm asking if you would like to do that as well.
Yeah, could I get a motion for a resolution of support for this?
I made the first 2. I'm not going to make this motion. Somebody else can do it.
I will. I
All right,
motion.
Beth, thank you. Can I get a
Second.
second? All right, Ralph, thank you. Ellen, just for the minutes, that was Beth made the motion and Ralph seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? Okay, it passes unanimously. Thank
Ellen,
you.
if you want, I will give you some text for the motion. I will email it to you.
That would be great.
Okay.
Okay, so our next meeting is March 21st at 7 o'clock. I will not be here for that meeting, so be thinking about, Beth, I think you might be on board if you don't mind. So if I could get a motion to adjourn. Go ahead, John, you want to.
So moved.
So moved. Second, whatever you need.
Yeah. All right. So Ellen, that was John moved and Carol seconded. So at 7:55, the meeting is adjourned. And
Thanks,
thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
So
for
Gail, will
being
you
here.
email me the text for the motion?
Take care.
Yes, I will
Good night.
email. I will email
Okay.
that to you.
And then I feel like I have no notes at all under fiber grant under old business. I don't really, I just didn't touch anything really.
I didn't really say anything. I thought I would have more to add, but
Okay,
the mayor has been
I
out.
literally says old business fiber grant and there's no text in my notes, so.
Right, I didn't have anything to add.
Waiting for
Okay.
mayor.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Thank you for joining
Bye.
us. Good
You're
night,
welcome.
Val.
Good night, Naomi.
Can you stop recording?
That's what I'm looking for.